Before we begin, I will be exponent from April 14 to 16, 2023 this year, helping Jay with the launch of the Typhoon speaker in room 472. Now remember, 2023. Do not show up at the room in 2024 because you watched this video a year later and complain, Thomas, man, I drove 17 hours to Expona to listen to the Typhoon in Galion and you were not there. Okay, see you there this year. Now, at the beginning of this year, Wendell, who is the marketing Jedi at Magnepan, invited me to film a focus group. Now, for those of you who don't know, Magnepan has developed a non-traditional subwoofer that is fast enough to keep up with panel speakers, and they call it the UBS. Now, if I were Magnepan, I would promote it as a subwoofer that can go warp 9.9. Besides being a really fast-sounding subwoofer, another standout feature of this subwoofer is that it can play full range. Now, as you know, most subwoofer can only go up to 100 Hertz, but this one probably can go up to, 10 kilohertz. So Wendell wanted to organize an honest, unfiltered focus group, and he told me I can put everything I filmed in the video. Well, I thought to myself, I always put the good and the bad, so this was not really an incentive. Do I want to spend a few days of my life making a video on this when I already have made a video on it at the Toronto Audio Show? Then Wendell told me, hey man, there's free food. Well, I'll never say no to free food. Wendell should have started the phone conversation like this. Thomas, there's free food and we have a focus group. What do you want to eat? So to earn the free food, I had to help organize the event. I sent out an invite to all my subscribers here in Montreal, and I was able to get 24 participants to attend this event at Cordell, a local retail store. Now, one specific ask was right after the session, the gates will be locked, the drawbridge will be lifted, and no one is allowed out until they share their experience online. Good or bad? Does not matter. So, I will link in the description and the first comment with honest feedback from the actual attendees. Now, besides the food, one of the reasons why I wanted to film this event was this is almost like playing a prank on the audience. You see, remember I told you the Magnepan UBS is full range? So what they would do is they would play a few tracks with just the subwoofer on, get everyone's feedback, and then tell everyone the Martin Logan speakers were actually off. Wendell did not tell everyone the Martin Logans were off, but everyone assumed they were on. So why Martin Logan speakers and not Magnepan? Now, one of the points was to show everyone the warp speed Magnepan subwoofer are fast enough to keep up with any panel speakers. Hey everyone, this is Cordell, a relic of the past. For those of you too young, let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, you can actually walk into a physical store and listen to the gear before buying it. I know, shocking, isn't it? Now, I have to say, stepping into Cordell is like stepping into an amusement park for adults. The place is huge. If I were to listen to a different speaker every day there, it would take me over a month. Speakers, the price of a car, everywhere. I have to say, it is cute to see $20,000, $30,000 speakers display as it is almost like they're about to have a garage sale. Usually when I see $20,000 speakers at someone's home, it is like the most precious thing in the house. Well, almost as important as their significant other. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have Chris here now preparing the food for Magnepan event. And look at that, this is the reason why I came. All right, we got dessert from IGA, we got salad, we got whatever this is.
This is
the sandwich.
Pate.
Pate, oh, right.
Some rolls.
Some
regular
rolls.
sandwich, a green salad for people who want to just be veggie.
Ah, so if we don't finish it, I can take them all home then.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's my pay for tonight, guys. That's how hard I work. Oh, the croissant. Can you hear me drooling?
Thank you, Annie.
So here's the room for the show tonight. Now I was told that the room is heavily treated, So it is very easy to tell differences when swapping gear. You have the Martin Logan Theos, you have two Schiit Vidar 2, and then the two dipole subwoofers from Magnepan. Oh, and this is actually funny. Wendell got the speaker cables from Home Depot. Magnepan demonstrates Martin Logan powered by Schiit, wired by Home Depot. Now that's a cool title. Now Wendell is probably thinking, Canadians are super polite. People might be too polite to really speak up about what they feel. Little did he know, I was the one who sent out the invite on my community page, and I emailed most of the people who signed up. Be honest, you can say whatever you want. Well, actually, as you know, audiophiles, man, probably the most vocal, the most opinionated, the most picky species on the planet. You move the speaker by 1 inch to the left, and some of them will be like, oh no, this is unlistenable. So I expect to get some colorful comments. Now, in the spirit of keeping this video as honest as possible, I'll try to share with you an equal amount of positives and negatives. However, the negatives must be constructive and useful. So people's first reaction to listening to just the UBS.
By the way, this room is bass challenged.
Scary.
It doesn't have any problems keeping up with the electrostatic speaker.
Ah,
So
okay.
that's definitely something you want, because if you're into electrostats or into Magnepans, it's always a problem trying to. Well, first of all, with Magnepans, you're not getting great bass performance. Some people don't care. Some people do.
Mhm.
But if you're trying to get a subwoofer to go along with your Magnepan, it's always a challenge.
Yeah, I thought the bass performance was spot on. It was very natural. My only issue, okay, so on the positive side, I thought the soundstage was huge, and yeah, I would need to do A/B tests to disable the subs to compare with the Martin Logan's alone. But I
You thought
think
the soundstage
the
was too big?
soundstage was improved because of the sub. It was richer, wider, right? I felt like I was in a big hole, not in a small room.
Yeah.
But I am not used to the subs infringing on the mids, and that gave me a little bit of a I don't know. I couldn't. The suspension of disbelief wasn't so easy. I think I need to get used to it. I'm expecting the mids to come from the Martin Logans, and that's where the soundstage is. But it was creeping on me from like the sides, and I know it's a sub.
Yeah.
Isn't that the case?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
That I wasn't expecting. So
Yeah.
it caught me off guard, and it was almost distracting. But I noticed it. Right. It pulled me out of the zone I was in.
Yeah.
But I think getting used to it would enhance the experience. That's my guess.
And what I very appreciate in this presentation, the dynamic of the orchestra when it was, they came at a certain point, a certain song, and I felt the dynamic with all the instrument, and it came to touch me. So I don't know if it's the sub effect or not, but that's the part that was very nice, and I could compare with or without, because that's the aspect that I really enjoy it. When the rest of the orchestra went in, and in the jump of the dynamic, and I'm sorry in English, I'm missing a bit of my words to explain it more.
You're doing
But
well.
I think you get the idea.
I would begin with two positive aspects. First one, the sound stage. Personally speaking, I would say the sound stage is really wide, almost wider than the room itself. The bass integration for me is really perfect. But on a less positive point is, I would prefer personally more bass. I'm used to hear this Chinese track at the beginning at 90 dBs at home, and no problem with that. And so if you could have more bass, and the down and the sound stage deep. I cannot hear the deepness in the sound stage.
Ah,
It's really wide, but not enough deep for me.
okay.
But the bass integration is perfect. We cannot localize the sub themselves.
Okay.
A good reproduction of a drum should make your heart skip a beat, you know, when you hear that thwack. And I say I hear half of that.
Okay.
In other words, it definitely it hits me in the chest, and I feel the emotion. I'd still like to hear a little bit more of the attack.
Okay.
If I can share, I don't know the recording. I find that the initial attack primary is really good, very dynamic. I find that the overtones are a little bit cut short. It's lacking a little bit of harmonics, so it's not hollow bass, but I feel like the mid bass should linger just like a half a second bit more.
Yeah, which is why.
It's a lot of impact, but it's maybe not the fullest. But it's good. It's tight, clean bass.
Okay.
A lot of dynamic attack.
Tonally, it's accurate.
I will just add, I can only repeat what the guy said before, but I never heard the bass so fast as these ones. But the only thing I really mind about the sound is it sounded a bit dry to me. I don't know if it's due to amplifiers or pre-amplifier, but it was just a bit dry.
Fantastic. Honest feedback. Keep it going. Keep it going.
And I wish it was a little bit deeper. Yeah.
Finally, the moment I've been waiting for. Wendell reviews that they are only listening to the subwoofers.
But there's something else going on. I've not been using the Martin Logans. So you've only been listening to the subwoofer.
No.
Yeah, seriously.
No,
That was the ultra wide band performance. So I remember one lady said her husband.
That's
had,
why it's so well
she
integrated.
said, why do I need the panels? Take those. No, that's why the imaging is not precise.
Exactly.
It's too wide. Is because the Martin Logans weren't big.
The vocal was on the left and not dead center, and
Right.
it came from the subwoofer.
But don't try this with your subwoofer at home. It won't work.
That's why we couldn't do AB, disabling it, because
Right.
it would be turning. Now it's a Martin Logan. Exactly, it's everything.
So it means when you are trying to turn on the
No,
speaker,
no,
I will not have any negative point now.
But there's a catch. Martin Logans are not turned on. This is
Basically,
It all makes sense now.
Wow, my ears were bleeding almost there.
We were listening to subwoofers.
Oh.
Just a sub.
Yeah, just the same.
Yeah,
It's just something that-
that's why we felt the high was subdued.
And we're just listening to the subs.
I mean, it was
Sounded
Pretty good for subs.
I have to say there was more of a reaction from the Toronto focus group. It must be because they had sushi and we did not.
I swore the other speakers were on.
Yeah.
No, it's
I
only
could have swear it's the.
It was just the woofers.
That was unbelievable. Oh my god. Okay. Interesting.
All right, guys, so I have Logan here. And after the Magnepan focus group, we decided to come back to my place and let's chat about what we learned, right? Man, the light is really bright, eh?
Yeah, it's bright, but I'm sure we look better.
I'll tell you what was going through my mind when I was at the Magnepan event, right? Everyone was listening for soundstage, listening for detail, listening for mid-range. Me, I was listening for the money, man. Because I was thinking the potential of what this Magnepan subwoofer can do. That's all I'm looking at, potential. Maybe because right now I'm more into business, right?
Yeah.
After I brought the TS120 to market. And if you think about it, right? Let's take, for example, the Lee Song single driver that we had the other day, the platinum one. Remember?
Yep.
So what happens that, for those who don't follow me, recently I got my hand on this Lee Song single driver, like really, really nice, beautiful, full range speaker. The problem is that we put it in just a baffle,
Yeah, small
Okay.
baffle too.
And it can only go down to 500 hertz, maybe.
Yeah, it was
maybe.
rolling. It was rolling off like a rolling off. Yeah,
Yeah.
It was very, very quick to
Yeah.
to descend in the lows.
Right. And I remember at the Toronto Auto Show, we matched with 2 subwoofers, and it sounded good, but you know that there's a hole somewhere, right?
Yep.
So when I brought it to my place, I had the 2 rails going. I crossed it over 120 because the rail can only go to 120, and yeah, the magic was just not there.
Yeah.
But now with this subwoofer, hell, man, I can cross it up maybe at 600-700, and it would sound phenomenal.
Yeah. That's what was going through my mind as well, actually.
Right?
Yeah.
So, especially when you play single driver speakers or open baffle, like that's number one what's going through my head. And the other thing that was going through my head was, all right, so that means, what does it mean? Does it mean that Magnepan don't have to make big panels anymore? Are we getting the bass from Magnepan or the soundstage because of the big panel? Because if you think about it, when we were just playing the subwoofers, there is a soundstage.
Yeah.
Right?
And it was an impressive soundstage considering.
Right.
Yeah.
It was just missing depth.
Yeah.
But once we power up the Martin Logan, you got your depth. So imagine they make a Magnepan the size of less than the Martin Logan. Right? Just the top small panel.
Mm-hmm.
And then the biggest problem with Magnepan, wife approval factor, guess what?
Yeah, it just kind of went away.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because that's what the sub also they had in mind with the subwoofers.
Really? Okay.
They're so small,
yeah,
short,
yeah,
narrow,
yeah,
and that's why they use multiple drivers as opposed to going with one large driver.
Yeah.
One of the key factor was my wife wants me to put the subwoofers behind the couch so we don't see them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Perfect. Fits.
So, and well, also if you take the other way, you can even do the subwoofer on top. You build the panel.
Yeah.
Right, and then it's just one normal speaker that looks very sleek and beautiful.
And I'd love to hear it in execution
mm-hmm.
in a room that did not have the characteristics that this dealer's room had.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I bet you that if those subwoofers, because they are dipole subwoofers,
mm-hmm.
if we have them in a room that does not have that level of absorption,
mm-hmm.
I bet you on their own that soundstage will feel a lot deeper.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you walked around that room,
yeah,
there was 2 corners that had no bass. You went from heart thumping, whoa, this drum is huge, to 15 feet in the other direction, nothing. So that has to do and play with the dipole effect, because the dipole effect meaning it's radiating from both ends.
Yeah.
Now, what if you have one of these that is now being canceled by the room?
Yeah.
So now you have a different polarity on one side that could be affecting the other subwoofer on the other side. You kind of see where I'm going with this?
I can see what you're going at it.
Because that's all I was thinking about when I felt the soundstage sitting down, not knowing the little trick that Magnepan was doing, that the actual speakers were off and it was just the subwoofers playing full range.
Yeah,
that's all I kept thinking. I was like, I want to hear this in a normal room,
I see.
room like yours.
Mm-hmm.
It's treated.
Yeah,
like your main
crazy.
Points are treated, but it's not crazy.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's like this dealer. This room was halfway between here and an anechoic chamber. It was an anechoic chamber, but it was like halfway between your room and an anechoic chamber.
Yeah.
Like you just sit there, nothing was playing, and it felt awkward because it's so quiet. So that's what came through my mind is I know that put those subwoofers in a proper room. I bet you on its own the soundstage will feel deeper.
Yeah.
And they never slowed down. That was the thing that I thoroughly enjoyed. You could feel the amplifier at one point was having a little bit of a hard time at high volume. But we know that's the amplifier.
Yeah.
When you brought it down a little bit, detail was there, and detail in the bass.
Okay.
Have you ever felt bass? Would you ever describe bass as airy?
No.
This time I kind of want to add the word airy with what I heard.
And this is interesting. I'll tell you why. Because when I interviewed Phil, he used that keyword. That bass was airy.
Oh.
Right. So the second thing that was going through my mind is that the bass I'm hearing right now is different than what I'm hearing from a rail subwoofer.
Yeah, agreed.
Right? Because when you play that drum, the big Chinese drum, I use it all the time as reference, right? You can hear the skin of the drum better. You can hear the airiness of the drum, the hollowness of the drum better. So that's why I kind of get what Magnepan is going for, right? Because the whole conversation when we had chat with them behind the scene is always how real can you get to the real thing, right? Because bass, there's techno bass, there's bass bass, there's drum bass, there's, you know, and I think that's the direction they're going for. So when I listened that night, that was what I was paying attention to. Okay, there's airiness in the drum. So therefore, this product should market well with a certain niche of people. So that's the second thing that was going through my head, right? So I'm just going to...
Want to talk about the food? And the food was fine. The food was fine.
That's too bad. I was so focused in filming the event, I didn't even get to enjoy the food. And that was the main reason I went there.
No, was it?
Yeah, it was, man.
You're such a carnivore.
When we reviewed to them that was just a subwoofer, it was great, man. I was filming this reaction, you know, it's like, gotcha type, right?
Yeah, I noticed 3 reactions. I noticed one where people were like, now everything makes sense. Then there was another reaction where people were kind of like, no,
impossible.
No, that I just got fooled. How is this possible? And the third reaction was, what?
Took them time to compute. I was looking at it. Oh, now we get it.
Yeah, there was a few old Windows laptops in the crowd that had a blue screen. They just went, what?
You know, if I were to do the focus group, what I would have done differently is this. Before everybody show up, I send you the tracks.
Yeah.
Right? The drum tracks.
Familiarize yourself.
Yeah. Listen to them, familiarize yourself.
Great idea.
Right? And come and then listen to what we can bring differently to the table. So, I have recorded 6 interviews. 3 were extremely positive, while 3 had some interesting feedback. The problem is I had audio issues with 3 of them. And guess what? The 3 that had no audio issues were the extremely positive ones. Darn. So in the spirit of keeping the video as balanced as possible, I will post one that is very positive and one where they had interesting comments. Now, given I have audio issues with that one, what I will do is drop the volume really low and caption it instead. Man, if I only have this kind of luck when buying a lottery ticket. What are the odds? All right, everyone, this is Thomas. Who do we have here?
Bastien.
Bastien. So, you got a chance to listen to the Magnepan subwoofer. What do you think?
To hear it alone, it was a wow. I was extremely surprised by the scale of all the frequencies that subwoofer can handle. I was impressed by the attack. I was impressed as well by the resonance of the bass. So the fact that it's not empty after the first attack of the sound. That's the challenge where I would develop more is how can you get the right tonality for bass and really reproduce these waves. It was impressive.
Yeah, so when they told you that it was only playing the subwoofer, you were like shocked, right?
Yeah, wow, it came out of my mouth.
I was surprised that the Martin Logan weren't turned on initially, so the spectrum is quite large, and it was surprising. In fact, I thought that the high ends were a little missing, which I thought was disappointing, which makes sense because the actual panels weren't turned on. So it is quite surprising in terms of the definition of the bass. Unfortunately, with this very limited settings, you can't really hear the full spectrum and really do a full review. The only thing that I would say is like maybe the very deep end, the very bottom end is slightly missing, but for the rest of it, they're very impressive, very interesting. So, as I mentioned there, where I was positioned, I could not hear properly the bass from the orchestra. So it could be where I was sitting, just the room setting and everything else. So maybe in another position, but to me that was lacking on the orchestra portion of it. And on the other piece where Diana crawled, I thought the bottom bass was a little too woofy in some ways. It's like it wasn't as defined and tight as I personally like. The bass to come out. So, but anything above, I'll throw a number out there. Anything above 40, 50, like the whole spectrum of the bass was very tight and very neat, and so like it reproduced like very, very nicely. So, and the merge with the mid range, I presume, if it's well coordinated with the panels, will probably sound phenomenal.